Well, aloha kakahiaka, everybody. How are you this morning? Today is August 19th, 2022. I'm Peter K, and you are on the Aloha Friday Hawaii Real Estate Show. Glad to have you. We're going through our normal warm up over here. We're going to warm up with our friends. We got Scott Startzman, who's with us from the island of Oahu. We got Dylan Donaka, who's with us from the Big Island, and we got Heidi Dellinger, who's with us from Maui. Why don't we kind of warm up those microphones? Let's start with Scott. We'll go clockwise. We'll start with Scott, then Dylan, and then Heidi. There's a lot of kitchen background noise coming from somebody's microphone. I'm not sure who it is. Dylan, it's got to be yours. There's somebody in the kitchen. They're whatever they're doing, God bless them. Scott, give us the update. What's the shirt? What's the new plant? What's everything? What's happening?
Yeah, I'm back. I just got back from my trip. I did 9 days in Idaho, out in the wilderness. We did five-day backpacking over 40 miles with a 0 day in there. So it was brutal. And for me, and most people don't know this, I didn't share this, but I had long COVID symptoms. So I was hitting fatigue for like 3 months to where it was debilitating. I would have to just stop in the middle of the day and rest. And so I had zero exercise before going on this trip. And I was a little worried about whether or not I was actually going to survive it. I even redid my truss just in case. So, but yeah, I survived it. It was brutal. You know, my buddy that takes me, he plans it. I show up with a positive demeanor and a strong mental attitude, and that's it. And then we just go for broke. And but it was awesome. We did whitewater rafting too on the tail end of Class 4 whitewater rapids, which it's probably one of the top 5 runs in the U.S. So it was epic trip, 9 days, no cell. So for me, these last 2 years it's been an ass kicker. So for me, this was a chance to rejuvenate, unplug, get away, and re-energize. And I feel good coming back. So it's awesome.
Oh, welcome back, buddy. Excellent. Good to see you. And there is definitely a difference. We mentioned we were off camera. You mentioning off the show. You have a new camera. You can tell the difference. So money well spent. You look great.
Does it make me look better?
You are a smashing handsome man, if I may say so myself. Hey, listen, if you're all just joining us, want to give you all a quick. We do have, if you're here for this special segment that got a little bit of publicity, we're going to be having that coming up. Give or take probably around 20 minutes after the hour. That's the show where we're going to be talking about our Haoles, foreigners in this case. Our Haoles driving up the real estate prices. And we have a special guest, Kelii Akina, who's with the Grassroot Institute. He'll be joining us later. The expert who is the executive director, the CEO and president of that organization. And he's going to be going over that report, which really was an eye-opener. So just want to give you all a heads up before we get to Dylan, let's do our normal stuff over here and say hello to everybody who's been giving us a shout out. Uncle Jim was here, but he's going to take off. So he said he popped in his comment. God bless you. God bless you, Jim. At 8:45, popped in his comment. Aloha, everyone. I'll catch this on a replay later, Jim. Welcome back on the replay. Auntie Joyce is with us from San Francisco Bay Area. Hope you're having a good time there, Auntie Joyce. Hope you're enjoying the foggy, cooler, hopefully it's cooler weather than Hawaii. Joan is with us. Joan, welcome back, Joan. Joan is Islander Ohana alumni. Aloha, everyone. Ready for another great show? I hope so, Joan. I hope so. God willing, we're going to try to make it a great show. Norm is back with us. Norm, hey, how's it, Norm? Norm is also an alumni of the Islander Ohana. Missed the last show, had to watch the replay. It's just not the same. So looking forward to today's show. That's right, Norm. It's recorded, right? We don't have the interaction that we all do here, where we can kind of have people giving us their shout outs and their hellos. Empty nesters, well, welcome. First time commenters. Welcome, empty nesters from Hilton Head Island, South Carolina. Awesome. Scott, that's kind of your neck of the woods or whatever, right?
Yeah. In fact, so when I first went to move out here, the buddy that came out with me that kind of talked me into it, he said he was going to do an internship. I said, where are you going to do it? He said either Hilton Head, South Carolina, or he was going to do it at the Hilton Wiki-Cola. And I had to correct him, say Waikoloa. And at that moment when I corrected him, he said, how do you know that? And I said, well, we got a place down the street. And he said, let's go. And that was 23 years ago. And here I am. So
There
That's
you
my
go.
connection
So
to Hilton Head.
excellent. Well, see how's that? Great. See, empty nesters, you've got a connection right here. Judy, welcome back, Judy. Judy Everett Weber. Aloha, everyone. Aloha to you, Judy. I am so glad you're here. Judy is also an alumni of the Island Ohana. Will Scher is here. Aloha from St. Louis. Aloha to you, Will. Welcome. Auntie Joyce Scott's looking right. It's the camera. It's all about the camera. It's the camera. As Scott says, there you go. You are a smashing, handsome man here. Paul is back with us. Paul from Ventura County, California. Welcome back, Paul. Paul, you're going to like for today's segment. It's about the what's really driving up the housing prices. Juliana is back. Aloha, Juliana. Aloha, Friday. Man, everyone's here. This is great. I'm going to rip through these. Patrick is back. Aloha from Germany. 18 days to go. Scott Patrick gave us the announcement that he got his condo on Oahu, thanks to you. 18 days. The countdown begins. Everybody, let's give Patrick a big shout out and the countdown. Jessica is with us. Jessica is an alumni of the Island Ohana. Jessica, for today's guest, yes, Kelii Akina. He will be joining us soon, give or take about 20 minutes after the hour. Really looking forward to kind of seeing what he's got to say about the report. It was quite an eye-opener for me. And Kinaya is with us from Austin. Welcome, Kinaya. Man, the list is getting long. Hang in there, Dylan. Mark is here. Mark is also an alumni of the Island Ohana. Jessica and Kenai, by the way, Jessica and Kenai and Mark are alumni Aloha Islanders, Aloha Island Ohana members. First time good. Well, first time's the best time. Well, not the best time. First time's the first time of many, hopefully. Supernova is with us from New York City. Welcome, Supernova. Will is back. Anyone seen onboard private? I've been on the yeah, great question. Hold that one. We're going to get to that one later. Will, I'm going to come back to you about that. I did that. It was great. Short answer. Chow is back. Aloha again from Massachusetts. The hot spot's back. All right, bro. How's it? Good to see you, man. Something you're gonna like today. It's related to housing in Hawaii. I think you're gonna really like that. Quick screenshot and a tease. Are Haole's driving up the real estate prices? Haole in the strict sense of foreigner, not skin color. Anyway, and then finally, we're going to give us Gil. Yeah, Gil, welcome back, buddy. All right, good. All right, I did my cue. I said, hold on, Dylan, it's your turn to warm up the microphone. What's the shirt? What's happening?
I'll keep it short since we're 2 minutes over 9. But I got the Monohea today, another local design brand. Nice, it's nice because you don't have to iron it. And I was short on time this morning, so I just threw it on. So I'm not real good at ironing my clothes. But yeah, beautiful day over here in Kona. A little bit overcast. It rained a little bit last night, but it's another beautiful day in Hawaii.
We're just living the dream, Dylan. We're just living the dream. That's all that we're doing. Thanks, Dylan. The shirt looks good. I would have never guessed you just threw it on and didn't iron it. So next time, just keep that secret between you and me. We don't need the millions of people who are watching right now. But anyway, hey, thanks for revealing that. Heidi, give us the update. What's going on? What's the coffee?
Well, I'm, of course, drinking my Maui coffee this morning. It's a gorgeous, gorgeous day on Maui. And, well, first, I just want to say welcome back, Scott. That sounds like an amazing adventure. I have nothing quite as exciting to report, just a busy week working. And I'm super excited to go jump in the ocean later and take a swim. So can't wait.
Jump in the ocean and go for a swim, right? Isn't that the thing? So this Babs from Idaho. Babs, don't you wish you were in? Aloha back to you. Don't you wish you were able to kind of say what Heidi just did? After the show, I'm gonna jump in the ocean. Facebook user, there you go. Aloha from Illinois. Welcome, Facebook user. Facebook user, you should know that Heidi is a Illinois native, as am I, born in the city of Chicago. Heather, Islander Ohana member, alumni. Aloha from San Jose. Quick Trick back to the mainland. Hey, Heather. Well, Heather, you're going to be able to have that wonderful experience that we all say that it's just the greatest thing on earth to come back home to Hawaii. All right. Excellent, gang. I appreciate it all. Let's do a quick news update over here. Let's kind of fill you in on kind of what's happening. I got some things I wanted to share that I'm going to try to be interesting if we can be about it. Hey, Scott, what you talked about earlier, it's happening. Japanese are coming to Scott, when you were away, we talked, there was a story about Japanese returning to the Japanese tourism industry starting up. And there was a story here that apparently they like the Big Island. They've doubling, they're up significantly over previous years in terms of percentages. So they normally see, normally the Big Island gets about 10% of the Japanese visitors. Now they're getting 20% of the Japanese visitors. That is a doubling of that. So that's interesting. Dylan, would be interesting to see if that affects the real estate market at all on the Big Island. That will be interesting. Maui visitors, there's the one common theme game you've all seen on the show, which is the visitors, y'all gonna have to pay more. Here's another one, paying the park. So there's all kinds of movement about, they're talking about making Maui's top destinations, top visitor attractions, beaches, etc., pay parking for visitors. Locals are going to get it for free, visitors are going to have to pay. So that's coming down the pike, group. There's Scott, I don't know if you heard about this. There's an affordable condo tower that's going up in Honolulu. This one is on the Ke'eaumoku street area. I think what was interesting about this, and this kind of relates to today's topic about real estate prices, there was a great quote from one of the residents who is this was from the Shingon Mission of Hawaii. The Bishop Ren Tsuru said, "We've been here for 110 years. We're about to be strangled by 400-foot condominiums. Traffic is bad. The water and sewage is bad, as you can imagine, in a neighborhood this old." This is classic example, not to say it's right or wrong, but this is a classic example of why development in Hawaii is restricted. Hint, hint, on the cause of higher prices of real estate in Hawaii. Pele power. So this is my favorite one. On the Big Island, there's a group called Puna Geothermal Ventures. They've been around there for a very long time, and they generate power that comes off of geothermal energy from the volcano. They're cranking up they're cranking up their energy output 38 megawatts to 48 to 60. I bring it up because we're all about clean energy. There is nothing cleaner than pure energy, heat coming from the ground. Apparently, there's enough energy that comes off of the volcano that could that can power the entire state. It's not going to probably happen. There's all kinds of issues, and maybe Dylan can talk about that. Been all kinds of controversy. People don't want drill welling and all that kind of stuff. But just thought I'd bring that up. And then finally, low voter turnout resumes to Hawaii. And I've got a Ohana question for you all, gang. So here's the Ohana question. So So the quick story is Hawaii's historically low voter turnout is resuming, even though we have an all mail-in election. So everybody gets their ballots. Every single a registered voter gets their ballots in the mail. But we've returned to historic lows. So here's the question, gang. What is the voter turnout percentage in Hawaii? Pop it in the comments if you're watching. What do you think? Take your guess in the voter turnout percentage. What do you think was the voter turnout percent of the primary election that we just held a couple of days ago? It ended on Saturday. All right. I think that's it for the news. Why don't we kind of go counterclockwise on the updates? We'll go to Heidi and then Dylan and then Scott. Give us the update, Heidi. You know what? I should do this because I even made a slide for this darn thing. So I'm going to show the slide. Give us the market update. What's happening? What's happening in Maui, Heidi? And any news you'd like to chime in on.
Sure. Well, there's a lot of talk about the market slowing and changing, which it's definitely changed compared to earlier this year. When you really look at the number of sales closing and number of sales going under contract, I mean, it's still pretty consistent with what was going on Maui for the last 10 years. It's just compared to 2021, which was an outlier. I mean, huge number of sales, huge spike. It looks like things are way down. But then if you look from 2010 to 2020, I mean, it's pretty much kind of returning to normal times in a way, if there's something that's normal. Median and average sales prices are up for both condos and homes. Appreciation shows some signs of slowing. Single family homes are still closing at around 99% of their list price, and condominiums are closing a little over asking price, 100.3% of asking price on average. So that's what's going on over here on Maui. Still a pretty robust market, just not quite as intense as we've seen over the past year.
So it's continuing this thing that we've kind of picked up over the past few shows, where the market is slowing. The craziness is out, but the prices are still at the very least stable, certainly not dropped by any significant amount. Dylan, what's the update? What's going on the Big Island, buddy?
I think that was a great point that Heidi made about looking at the historical numbers, right? Because just like interest rates, we as humans, we only like remember the last 6 months of our life, right? So we base our entire future off of what happened the last 6 months. And of course, interest rates seem like they're high versus 6 months ago, but the same is true of the real estate market. The real estate market looks like it's in taking a pretty hard downward turn if you put it in context of 6 months ago. But if you look at the last 10 years, there's nothing to be alarmed about. And if you look at the last 10 years for interest rates, there's actually a lot to be happy about because they're still very, very low. But we've definitely seen a quick downward turn in the number of sales on the Big Island. We had, for homes, a year ago, 261 homes sold. This month, there was 181. So big drop in the number of sales. The same is true of condos. The same is true of land. But median price is still up from a year ago. And we are seeing that the final list to sold price is falling. So we were at almost 100% final list to sold price a year ago for homes and condos. Condos were over 100%. Both have dipped under 100%. Homes are at 96% now. So like I've been saying, this is the time as a buyer to be in the market, because you have more inventory coming on the market, way less competition from other buyers, and the interest rates are not forever. So you can always refinance in the future. That shouldn't be a deterrent to buying at the moment. So we're still, at very low levels of inventory, but compared to a year ago, there's a lot more inventory. Almost at 1,900 properties for sale. We were at 1,300 a year ago. But if you look at months of inventory, I mean, it's still only 3.2 months of inventory. So, until we get back to 6 months, it's still a seller's market technically from an inventory standpoint.
All right, so that same trend, and I see Scott smiling. Hey, we got a question in that it's related to our market segment. Krista from San Jose said, "Hey, what areas on Oahu are offering reasonable sale prices? How is the market looking on the Big Island?" Well, Scott, Dylan just gave us the market update on the Big Island. So, Scott, as you kind of go through your market update, just give us a sense of answering Krista's question of what areas on Oahu are offering reasonable sale prices. Go ahead, Scott.
Yeah, what's the definition of reasonable, right?
There you go. Yeah, according to what?
Yeah, I mean, when you get into reasonable sale home prices, you got to get outside of the urban core, because the urban core is the dense, our more dense, desirable area. The further away you go, so Ewa, Kapolei, Makakilo are going to kind of still give you that urban core effect, but at closeness, but yet get a little more affordable, and the houses get a little newer. Otherwise, you got to get out in the country, North Shore, Leeward Coast, Windward Side, for you to really have that discounted price. But it comes with a commute, and it comes with less resources out that side. So it's a give and take. As far as market goes, I mean, Heidi hit the nail on the head. Last year was an anomaly. So I'll give you this, because this really spells it out. I went and looked back. In July 2019, right before the pandemic, we had 1,621 homes actively for sale on the market, and price went up 5.8%. That's a normal market. I see us going back. This is I'm calling it the great normalization. I expect interest rates to start to normalize to historic levels, 7 to 8% range. The market in general starting to get back to normal activity. But we have a problem here, which is inventory. You can't buy what's not for sale. And so there are 1,600 homes basically for sale on the market in 2019 with almost a 6% price appreciation. If you look in April 2005, which is at the height of a big peak, we were at 814 homes on the market with a 25% price appreciation. We have right now 625 active homes for sale on Oahu. So way less. So and here's the thing, in January, we started with 425 homes on the market. Now we have 625. Are we adding inventory? Yes, but it's basically at 25 homes a month. That's 3.5 years before we get back to what 2019 numbers are. So there's a problem here with the inventory that's going to restrict any kind of pullback in the market. And if you look on the condo side, it's the same thing. And what does that mean? So right now, what we're seeing is list to sales price ratio. Sellers are getting 101.6% of what they list their home for, more than the sales price. There's 60% of homes are being sold for over asking and 11 days on market on average. So, yes, cooling market, less sales, but there's also less listings coming on. We have an inventory problem, and it's going to keep things strong for a little while. We are heading back to normalization, but man, it may take a year, it may take 2 years to get back to that normalization component.
For perspective, right, this is how insane this is. The Big Island's got like 200,000 people. Oahu's got over 1 million people, and we have the same number of homes for sale. 647 is what we have on the Big Island right now. So
okay, so it's almost like if we could say a few months ago, let's say last year, when things were like just crazy hot, it was like boiling. We're boiling water. Right now, we're just simmering. So yes, it's cooled. It's not boiling. It's just simmering. But it's still there. So interesting. Hey, gang, get your questions in now on whatever you want to ask, so we can kind of hit it. We got a few minutes before Kelii comes back and joins us. And we got a couple questions here real quick from Norm Falconer. Dylan, seems like the prices are dropping about 8 to 10% on homes in Hawaii Paradise Park. Dylan, you want to comment on that?
Yeah, prices, the homes in Hawaiian Paradise Park were overpriced by 20%. So I don't think they're dropping. It's just sellers are starting to realize that buyers are not going to, pay 10 or 15% over what the home should be listed at. So I think
I gotta excuse me just to piece out that crack up. So the homes were overpriced by 20%. So now they're just overpriced. And Norm, let's just take Norm's statement as true. Norm has observed that they've dropped by, let's say, 10%, which now means they're only overpriced by 10%.
Yes, and the important data point to look at here, because I'm getting this feedback from a lot of people, right? I'm seeing all these massive, drop in prices. When you can't look at the listed price, right? You have to look at the sold price. The listed price is completely irrelevant. Sellers can list their property for whatever they want. It has no reflection on the true market value of the property. So you have to look at, okay, what are homes selling at? And if you look at what a home's selling at, we're still up from a year ago. So really, you have to ignore price drops. Price drops are a good thing to show you, okay, that maybe the price is getting to where it needs to be, and that's a home I should go after. Maybe I can negotiate more with that seller, but that doesn't have an effect on home value. It's not a good measure of home value.
Yeah, that is an extraordinarily good point. You have to look at the closing, the price it actually sold for, as opposed to the price it's going for. And
of course, the media and internet sites, they like to engage us and get our eyeballs and get us to click. So they're gonna, that's what they tell you is price drop, but they're not talking about what is the closed price versus last year, on a similar home.
Yeah. Keep in mind, the seller can ask whatever they want for a home, right? So. You put it on for $1 million, it's worth $500,000, right?
It's kind of funny that you guys mentioned, because I used to actually do that same thing back when I was I was looking for the prices of cars, and I would go to eBay, and you could sort by the listing price, but I would always there was a couple of boxes, and you want to check for what it actually sold for on the bid. Two different stories altogether. Okay, we've got a couple of questions. We're almost there. Kelii is in the green room, so Kelii, I see you there. We're going to be getting on soon. The hotspot Kanakakai says, is a 6-month supply really normal for Hawaii? Is that really normal, gang? No. Heidi says no.
So 6 months.
If you go to 2010 to 2020, it was much closer to that range, 5-6 months. We can go back and look, but
I don't think we're ever going to have enough inventory for the demand on Maui. I mean, I truly believe that. I think the inventory problem has been going on for a long, long time. And I think on a past show, I mean, I've said, when is a good time to buy a house? It's when you can afford it. And that sounds, really simplistic and almost kind of funny, but I mean, it's so true. I mean, for the past 8-10 years, buyers have been saying prices are too high, prices are too high, prices are too high, and they keep waiting and waiting. And I mean, there's there's no indication right now that all of a sudden everything's going to be at a big discount. I mean, the market's always going to fluctuate a little bit, but we have limited inventory. I mean, that's really the most important point of the story.
Yeah, Heidi, that's going to tie into what we're going to talk about later. So you're very, very true about that. Excellent. Let's see. There's a couple things over here really quick. Dylan, what about Ironman? Is Big On going to be able to handle Ironman? I heard the 2-day format will create major logistics hurdles. Dylan, can you speak to that at all?
It's a major logistical hurdle no matter what. I think 2 days will probably, I think 2 days will probably, it'll be better for the athletes because it won't be as crowded. It will be 2 days of town being shut down and roads being blocked off and stuff. But, I think the net positive for the community and the economy is probably much greater than it's easy for us. Like we just avoid town for 2 days. I've never been to the Ironman. Like, I don't know. So it happens here every year normally, but it's a pain when the roads get shut down and stuff. And we've talked about in the past, one of the biggest challenges is the athletes that come like a month before to train and they're just totally oblivious to, people on the road. And we always have athletes getting hit and, accidents happening because people aren't paying attention when they're driving. The athletes think they own the roads and that becomes an issue. So there's always somebody gets hurt, which is unfortunate. But yeah, I think in a way it's probably a better format for the athletes. So it's not as insane because if you've ever been down to the pier, if you see it on TV, it's a little tiny pier and there's like 2,000 people trying to get in the water and everything kicked in the face. And I even knew a guy that trained for 6 months and they got kicked in the face right when it started and he had to drop out because he had a big gash, had to go get stitches and stuff. So.
Dylan, I can't tell you how disappointed I am in not hearing that you're an Ironman athlete in stiff competition with a couple of trophies on your belt.
There's nothing more boring in life than riding your bike for like 2 hours and then running for 2 hours. I mean, I could do the swim probably no problem, but that is just totally boring to me. It's the more Scott's type of adventure and physical activity is way more appealing than just running down a long highway for 2 hours.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. All right, hey, let's get this real quick out of the way for the hotspot who's asking, hey, I'm getting my real estate license soon. Do you suggest a self-paced from home course or in-class course? I'm not sure I'd lose out on the content bonus info if I do in-class. So that's one quick question. What's your folks' advice? You've all gone through this in one way, shape, or form. And the other thing is, hey, what do you suggest I get myself on a successful sales team as soon as I get my real estate license? Well, the hotspot, are you on Molokai or are you on the other islands? Because I think we know who sales teams that you're going to want to join if you're on Oahu or the Big On or Maui. Gang, you want to give the hotspot quick advice on kind of what's the best route to take on the course? Let's go with Heidi and then Dylan and then Scott real quick.
I think it depends on you. When I first got my real estate license, I did a self-study course. And at the time I had time to do it. And it's just a lot of reading. It's not very exciting at all. You just need the discipline to get through it. When I got my broker's license, I actually signed up for a class because I knew that would force me to show up and go at a regular time and get through it on a specific schedule. And I was really busy with a lot of other things. So I thought doing the class gave me some structure. And I mean, during the class, it kind of depends who's in the class, but you hear different stories about real life situations that happened. And depending on the instructor, you maybe get a little bit more context on some of the things you're studying rather than just reading it by yourself. But I mean, sometimes it feels like it's taken a lot of time when you're sitting in a class for 3 hours and people are talking. So if you'd rather just read the book and knock it out, I mean, it's fine too.
All right, quickly, Dylan, in course or online or both or what? What's your advice?
Doesn't matter. You just got to memorize a bunch of useless information you'll never use once you get your license. So whatever best way you can do that. That's it.
Memorize a bunch of useless information you'll never use in the real world. Sounds like school to me. Scott, what's your advice?
Yeah, it's all depends on what, if you can do the self-training course online, then, and you got the motivation to stick to it, then do it. But the reality is you're not going to come out of that understanding a whole lot about real estate. And it's more important what you do after that. So you just got to get through the class and pass the test. That's about it.
There you go. Like Dylan's advice, get through the class, pass test. Heidi's advice was good though. The in-person stuff gives you stories, things that you can kind of recall. That's helpful. But again, that's not those aren't the questions on the course. And he's going to be moving to Oahu. Well, you need to reach out to Scott, buddy. That's all I can tell you. Just like that. All right, gang. Good. I think we got it. And we she who laughs is laughing. Good. I'm glad. I'm glad that she who laughs is having a good time. All right, folks. Let's move on. We're going to bring on to our sort of fun topic for today. This is I got I'm a subscriber. It's a free subscription to Grassroot Institute's newsletter, and I got a really interesting a report that they released, which was answering this question: are Haoles driving up real estate prices? Now, by Haoles here, okay, I'm looking at not talking about the skin color version of Haoles, which is also used. I'm looking at, this is the Hawaiian dictionary. I'm looking at Haole in terms of foreigner, in the strictest sense of the word. So I want you all to understand what I mean when we say Haole. We're not saying about like typically white people. We're talking about foreigners in the strict sense of the word, meaning non-Hawaii residents. So big topic over here is that, I can't tell you how many times on my YouTube channel I get some comments from people saying, yeah, the reason why, we're local folks are getting forced out of their homes is because mainland folks are coming in and taking their land or pushing them out and driving up prices. We hear this all the time, and not just on my YouTube channel. It's also in the political phase. It's kind of like all over the place. You're hearing this everywhere. And so what we did today is we brought a special guest with us, an expert in the field. Hey, everybody, this is the first time we're kind of doing this sort of thing, so it's kind of fun. I want to introduce you all to our special guest, Kelii Akina, who is the president CEO of Grassroot Institute. This is the organization that wrote this report, and I'm so stoked to have someone who can kind of talk to it. First of all, Kelii, aloha and welcome. Say hello to everybody. Say hello, Kelii, to all that we got.
Well, aloha, Peter. Great to be reconnecting with you. We go back many years. And Scott, Heidi, and Dylan, it's been fun listening to all of you banter together. You really know your stuff. Just really glad to be with all of you. Let me just add one thing. I just heard about the title of your program today. I like to think that every time we use the word Haole, we should always say beloved, beloved Haole.
Beloved. There you go. That's a nice little add-on. I think if people did that, that would be kind of cool. And hey, Kelii, you're getting some alohas from folks, our listeners here, our great audience. Kelii is with us. Kelii is also a member of our Islander. She's an alumni of our Islander Ohana group. As Jessica gives the big aloha. I know that Jessica's been looking forward to this topic. All right, so let's kind of hit this, gang. So here's kind of what's been going on. What was interesting to me, Kelii, and I'd like to kind of get some back and forth on this, was that I got a couple slides here, gang, just to kind of lay out the lay of the land real quick. And I really want to talk about it. The data says no to the question, are Haoles driving up prices? Our beloved Haoles driving up prices? No. Again, I'm using the word strictly in the foreign sense. Haoles to local buyers, was it some interesting things that stuck out about this report? And I'd like to get your feedback on this, Kelii. As far as like, what did you find that was most surprising about this report? Number one, Haoles to local buyers percentages dropped, but prices went up from 2008 to 2021. And the other big takeaway I got from this report was land use restrictions correlate with high prices nationwide. So in other words, it was land use restrictions more than anything else that correlated with high prices. Now, here's a couple of graphs here. This is going to be hard to see. So if you look at this one on the right-hand side, it gives you, this is from the report, the trend of Hawaii home sales by percentage, the buyers. So that the blue line on top are local buyers, the orange line on the bottom are mainland buyers, and then the little gray line is foreign. You see, there's almost been they've been fairly steady percentages. They've been up or down a little bit. But on the left-hand side, you can see the price of real estate in Hawaii over time. We're much closer tracking to California. And on the bottom right, as I zoomed into the same range of years from the graph above. So if you look at the graph below, prices are definitely going up. You look at the graph above, the percentages are relatively stable. That was one thing that really kind of stuck out. Maui is a big one. So Heidi, this is to you. Look at the difference of local buyers to mainland buyers. Look at the differences in how the percentages have changed. This does not track the price increases in Maui. So if there was a correlation, if in fact mainland buyers were driving out local buyers and driving up prices, you would see some kind of correlation between these two. So that was really surprising to me. So what then, and this was the thing that came out in the report, what then is it? 3 words: land use regulation. You look at the scatter graph over here of the plot. It's a plot of median home prices by state and also by the land use regulations. You look at Hawaii, upper right-hand corner, highest price, most land use regulations. So if y'all been watching this, if y'all been with the show, this is not too surprising to us. Kelii, what's your take on this? I'd like to kind of hear the story of, what did you get out of this report? What was some big takeaways that you perhaps were surprised by, or what's kind of been the response, or what else would you like to comment on about this report?
Well, Peter, thank you. We were really having a lot of fun putting this together because it confirmed some intuitions that we had. You're right. There's a commonly held myth that out-of-state buyers are the ones who are causing our prices to go up and our scarcity to increase. But that's really not the case. When we look at the data, which we like to do at Grassroot Institute, we find that outside buyers actually have been scapegoated. Here's what we found. In 2020, the percentage of outside buyers was only 19%. And here's the key insight. That means more than 80% of home purchasers were local buyers. In fact, we look at the data over time. So between 2011 and 2020, the share of outside home buyers in Hawaii trended downward. And yet at the same time, prices kept increasing. And I'll talk about that in a minute. But let me point out 3 things that are important to get from the study. Number 1, the percentage of out-of-state buyers has been declining for more than a decade. Number 2, the percentage of local buyers has been increasing for more than a decade. So when people drive by, let's say, Kaka'ako and see the apartment buildings going up, it's instinctive for many to say that must be foreign buyers, but the data doesn't show that. The data shows what developers have been telling us all along, that the majority of purchasers are local people. Now, this is very important to note. Our study pointed out that across the country, there's no meaningful correlation between a state or county's median home prices and the share of out-of-state buyers. And because there's no correlation, you can't make the claim that out-of-state buyers are actually driving up the prices of homes in Hawaii or causing the scarcity. Now, what I want to do, Peter, is point out why we did this study. It wasn't just to get to the esoteric point of challenging this myth. It was so that our policymakers will actually stop blaming the scapegoat of out-of-state buyers and to start looking at the real causes. As you point out, land use regulation is really the real cause. It's one of the many causes. And I'd love to chat about that a little more, but let me give it back to you now. It's very important to realize that the answer to the question, why are Hawaii's housing prices so high and why is there such a scarcity, has virtually nothing to do with out-of-state buyers.
I think so it's something that, I mean, we never chatted about that topic directly, but if people go back over the archives, which are all there, you'll hear Dylan and Scott and Heidi chiming in all day long that, it's always about supply and demand. But I think, and this is what I was so happy about, Kelii, was that you folks, talked on this has been a taboo topic that's been very, very popularized. You see it all over the place. And in that report, you guys had all kinds of examples about quotes from politicians, public figures, etc. about it's these foreign buyers, these out-of-state buyers who are kind of driving a price, and that's so. And that is just not the case. Now we got a couple of questions that popped. Oh yeah. First of all, one thing I failed to do is I didn't kind of give any kind of a bio of you, Kelii, and I apologize for that. You are the president and CEO of Grassroot Institute. Folks, if you haven't guessed by Kelii's name, he's also a native Hawaiian. If I'm not, are you still serving on OHA's board, Office of Hawaiian Affairs? Aren't you folks?
That's right, Peter. Although I'm not here today in that capacity, I'm in my second term as a trustee at large of the Office of Hawaiian Affairs.
Okay, so gang, we're not just going to have anybody here, right? So this is a guy off the street who's kind of ranting and raving about the thing. This is Grassroot Institute goes way back. You guys, I characterize you guys as sort of a nonpartisan, libertarian leaning, free markets, kind of a libertarian, kind of a think tank that's been around in Hawaii for a long time. How would you characterize Grassroot Institute?
Well, Peter, you're right. We are a think tank, but we're more than that. We also want to offer solutions, and we work toward good policy in the areas of the economy, housing, and other needs of the people of Hawaii. We're independent. We don't take contributions from any political parties. We don't take contributions from the government. We let the data speak for itself. What we're really doing is looking for a way to find solutions to the difficulties that we face here in Hawaii.
Yeah, and so it's been great to see your guys' policy, and I'm really thankful that we got someone, a group like yours, to do that. So thank you, Kelii. I want to give everyone some context on kind of who we were talking to and what kind of authority. I got a couple of quick questions that I wanted to point out from everybody here. Well, first of all, Kelii, Auntie Joyce loves the Beloved Edition. I love it too. It's awesome. So you got a big shout out, a big thumbs up from Auntie Joyce, who's one of our most dedicated listeners, audience members. Will says Will gives his aloha, as does Norm. So it's kind of fun to see all the love over here that's coming in. Mark Whitehill has got a question for us. Mark is a member of our Islander Ohana. He's an alumni of our Islander Ohana group. Great info. I'm curious, how does the percentage of out-of-state buyers in Hawaii compare with other states? Kelii, can you speak to that at all?
Yes, our study actually goes to the data of all other states. We were very thorough in this because we wanted to make sure that we weren't just talking about Hawaii. And so I would refer you to the Grassroot Institute website to actually see that data, grassrootinstitute.org. But in general, it shows that Hawaii has one of the higher percentages of out-of-state buyers. The key thing to point out is that as we look at markets across the country that have high percentages of out-of-state buyers, it shows no correlation to the actual scarcity or the pricing. There are places that have high percentages of out-of-state buyers where the prices are through the roof, like New York City. But there are other places across the country where you have high percentages of out-of-state buyers and the prices are low. You also have places like Washington, D.C., where you have a lower percentage of out-of-state buyers, but you have high prices. So that's the key point to keep in mind. But that's a good question. I'm glad that was asked.
Yeah. Thanks, Mark. I appreciate that.
I'd like to add, Peter, just from a comment, me, I love to look at stuff. I'm not that smart, so I look at trying to apply common sense, right? And
yeah, you're not that smart at all, Dylan.
Yeah.
You're not that smart.
You just intuitively you think, okay, where are people going, right? You hear a lot about people moving to Vegas, moving to Idaho, moving to Texas, these markets where there is affordable housing, right? So I would expect that there would be a lot of out-of-state buyers per capita going to those areas, and and that's because prices are lower, right? So why would people be going to a high priced place, right? And so it's just kind of there's a lot of counterintuitiveness in this. So you kind of just generalize it and say, hey, if somebody's coming here, the prices are going to be high.
Dylan is absolutely right. Everybody knows people who've got one story or another to tell about this. And so a lot of times we base our conclusions on anecdotes, but we have to go to the data. That's absolutely important. And the reason that we've gone to the data is not so much just to dispel this myth of the out-of-state buyer. It's because we want to shift the conversation. We want our policymakers to stop looking at scapegoats and instead to start looking at the real causes of our land use, our land scarcity. And as you pointed out, land use regulations is a big one. We were really pleased when UHERO, the UH Economic Research Organization, came out with its recent study, which showed that Hawaii has some of the highest land regulation in the entire nation. In fact, we've got the county, Hawaii County, that has more regulations with regard to housing than any other in the United States. Now, that's something that there's a correlation between high regulation and high prices in housing, as well as scarcity. That's the real problem we're facing in Hawaii. If we could solve that problem and reduce our regulations, we could open up a lot more housing opportunities. For example, just really quickly, a study links to other studies we've done at Grassroot and points out we could have a lot more housing available if we allowed more low-rise apartments. You see, most of Hawaii's buildable land is zoned at the county level for single-family homes. So there's little room for duplexes or fourplexes or low-rise apartments. We should change that. Or perhaps we should start using a practice that other markets are using called by right housing. In other words, if you manage to show the government authorities that your house is sound, it's gone through an architect, it's jumped through the hoops, there's a pre-established checklist, then you can go ahead and build without having to go through hearings. But the problem is that so many developments have to go through hearings that it virtually shuts down development in many areas. Another thing we can do is cut back on our permitting delays. We could also require permits for a lot fewer projects. In many markets across the country, you don't need permits for re-roofing your house or fixing it after a flood or putting in flooring or air conditioning and so forth. I could go on, and I know our time is limited today, so I'll just refer to one of our studies online, which is Build Up or Build Out. There are lots of solutions we should be looking at instead of naming scapegoats for the scarcity of housing in Hawaii.
Yeah, I think the scapegoating is and that's why I'm really so and I want to thank you again for coming and spending your time to come out and share this this report. It was the scapegoating issue that I really enjoyed about it and I wanted to share about. We're going to get some questions from Scott and Heidi and then everybody else real quick. Patrick says, please define out-of-state buyer, someone whose main home is out of state or a transplant. If I'm not mistaken, please correct me if I'm wrong, Kelii, is that they took a very liberal look because it's hard to there are a lot of cases which are kind of borderline cases. The idea would be if you're out of state and buying a home here, you're considered a out of state buyer. That was the objective criteria that was used, right, Kelii?
That's absolutely right. You stated it well. And in the interest of time, I just want to refer our listener to the study itself online at grassrootinstitute.org.
Grassrootinstitute.org. Gang, I've also got it linked extensively on the one article I published on the website that went out in the newsletter. You can go there, but grassrootinstitute.org, where you'll find that and other reports. And I want to definitely do the best I can to promote that. Auntie Joan likes the great edition. So, Joan, I'm glad that you enjoy that. And Uncle Ray is here with us. Aloha from Kailua. Welcome, Ray. And Mark is enjoying it. Interesting. Hey, our internal Jessica says, love your solution of low-rise apartments, duplexes, etc. What can we do to change public perception that these types of homes are going to ruin my neighborhood? Man, that's the question, Jessica. Hold that thought, everybody, because I want to get some feedback. Heidi, Scott, or Dylan, you guys have any feedback? You want to chime in, questions for Kelii? Anything you want to add to this? What do you want? I want to bring you guys into the conversation. Scott, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, one of the biggest things, the land use restriction, that if you look back at, statehood was 1959. In the 1960s and 70s here on Oahu, we were creating on average 14,000 new units per year for those 2 decades. And now we're right around 4,000. And the reason for it is land use restriction. And we swung the pendulum from one side all the way to the opposite side to where we're not building enough housing to satisfy the demand that's there. And then you get this supply demand thing. But so 14,000 units to 4,000 a year is a huge swing. And that right there just shows, and it came from the restrictions on land use.
Yeah, that definitely speaks to that. Heidi, you have any comments you want to chime in, ask, or be a part of?
Yeah, thank you so much for being here. I thought the study was very interesting. And it is important because, I mean, the general feeling among most people that I speak to here is blaming the out-of-state buyer for the real estate prices. So it's just an interesting perspective. I actually did have the same question as Patrick because even living on Maui 20 years, sometimes 3 generations, doesn't qualify a person as local. So I was just kind of curious. I mean, if you move move to Hawaii, rent for 1 or 2 years? Are you considered local or not? I mean, there's definitely an integration of people from all different places here on Maui. And I mean, the whole local economy, I mean, that is a much larger topic than I think we can address today, but it's anyway, super interesting. And yeah, thank you for your insight, and looking at the data is important. So appreciate it.
Thanks, Heidi. And the only thing I'd add is that the out-of-state purchases on Maui are largely on the ocean front, like in Kihei and so forth. They tend to be condos and so forth. The real problem on Maui is the lack of homes for locals in the inland, and that's what we need to resolve.
Yeah, thank you, Kelii. I love that stat. And Heidi, I really enjoyed, actually, I was looking at that part of the report, the out-of-state part, and it was like, it's very, very straightforward, because they pulled this data from the Bureau of Conveyances and the filings and the transactions that actually get filed. And so how do you objectively define an a foreign, an outsider, if your address is not Hawaii? We don't care whether you're fifth generation or you're the kid that was born and raised in Maui and went to the mainland to go to college, and now if your address, if the buyer's address is out of state, you're an out of state buyer. Dylan, is there anything you want to add to this?
I don't know. I guess I hate to bring it to Kelii. It's like no news for us,
Absolutely. No news for us. Yeah, really, right?
Absolutely.
But, like I've said on the show many times before, right? Less than 4% of the Big Island is zoned to build anything on. So if we increased 1% by 1%, we'd have a 20% increase in buildable land that would, one fell swoop solve our affordable housing crisis. It's that easy. But land use restrictions restrict us from doing anything, and the public does the same thing. We just had an election. The same people who cause the same problems still get elected. So it's like you can't complain about the way things are and then continue to put the same people in office that are going to continue to do it the way that they've been doing it. So yeah, unfortunately.
Dylan, you're absolutely right in what you said earlier, that we have another problem, and perhaps, Peter, we could talk about it on another show, and that is that we've created an artificial scarcity of land. Because of our regulations, we actually develop on only 5% of the land mass in the state. We don't develop on 95%, and if we just added another percentage point from the 5, we could have 20% development without harming agriculture or the aquifer at all. But that's another story. So add that to the real causes, and we have more than enough reason to stop blaming the scapegoat of our beloved Haole, as you put it.
A beloved, as you put it, as beloved, which I love that. That's a great one. Kelii, do you have a few minutes? There's one more kind of discussion question I want to pose, but do you have to go, or can you stay for a few? Just let me know.
I can stay, but I want to get this one shout out in. The team at the Grassroot Institute is just fabulous in terms of its commitment to work and its skill. And a young research associate of ours, Jensen Ahakovi, did the lion's share of the work in this project. He did a great job. I just want to thank him.
Big shout out to Jensen. Big mahalo, Jensen. I really appreciate you did your homework on that report, and it was really it was readable too. It wasn't that long. I mean, it's the old, oh my God, am I going to read this report? Yeah, I downloaded the PDF. It's pretty straightforward. And by the way, a friend of mine is watching, Rockland Freitas.
Hey, Rocky.
Okay, there you go. Kelii knows you. Rocky, go to grassrootinstitute.org, and the report's like right there off the homepage. Download the PDF. It's actually a pretty easy read. I've got a big, it's too big of a question. I think it's too big. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to do a cliffhanger on the question. The cliffhanger on the question is, because we have to move on, and Kelii's got to get back to his duties, which I'm sure are multiple. The cultural question, we're going to do a cliffhanger for a future show, which is, and it really relates to Jessica's question, which is, what is it? There's a cultural thing going on, a culture, and we've talked about this a bunch of times. Kelii, Dylan has brought this up, which is, you ask people if they want more affordable housing. Everybody wants more affordable housing. All the political classes talking about affordable housing. A bunch of races, I'm going to focus on affordable housing. They all want that. But then when we say, okay, great, we're going to build some houses, we get that comment that I brought up earlier from the guy in the neighborhood saying, not in my backyard. No. I don't. If you ask people, so the paradox, right? The paradox is we all want more affordable housing, but nobody wants more development. Right? We don't. That's the paradox. That's a cliffhanger. We're not going to talk about that now. I'm going to cliffhanger. Kelii, thank you so much for coming. I know that everyone appreciates it. Everybody give a quick shout out to Kelii and his gang, Jensen, who wrote the report. Let them know how much you appreciate their efforts. Kelii, any final words, and we'll say your final words to everybody. And
before Kelii signs off, I'd like to add,
yes.
Grassroot Institute is a nonprofit organization. So if you appreciate the stuff that they're doing, go to their website. You can make a contribution. They have events, but that's how stuff like this gets funded, because they don't take any government money. So I'd like to make that shout out.
Well said. Pitch for the.
Thank you, Dylan.
Are
you looking for a job as a PR director?
You can't afford me.
If you do your job, we can afford you.
There you go. Perfect response. This is great. I love it. Kelii, is there any final words you would like to share before
yes,
we
Peter,
say goodbye?
just wonderful to be with you and the gang today. You've got a great show, and I just want to say aloha. Today is Statehood Day. Let's celebrate this wonderful coming together of the Hawaiian culture, the Hawaiian people, and the United States of America. Aloha.
Oh, coincidentally, today is Statehood Day. That's another topic to discuss. The one holiday nobody in Hawaii likes to talk about is statehood. That's another whole other cultural topic. Kelii, thanks again. Scott, Dylan, Heidi, say goodbye to Kelii, and we're going to resume our normal stuff.
Thank you.
All right.
Aloha.
We'll see you later, Kelii. Thanks for coming. So that was great. Hey, gang, hope you all enjoyed that. I think everybody else over did. Patrick did. Elizabeth Riley, awesome, Elizabeth. Glad you stuck with us. Elizabeth, I'd like to know what your inputs are on this. You are a huge mover and shaker in Hawaii on big real estate issues. You guys did a great recovery of some preservation land on East Oahu. We got great stuff. Carrying some guilt, moving to the island. See, Norm, let go of the guilt. Let go of the guilt, Norm. Don't carry white guilt. Not a good thing. There's no place to go there. Patrick was happy. Jessica, everyone's loving it. So this is great. Excellent, Grang. I thought it was great. I really enjoyed. Thank you, Auntie Joyce, and I hope you will all support Grassroot Institute. And Gina, all right, Gina, that is one heck of a beautiful name there. Gina Banchetter Uber Unga. I'm going to blow that one. So sorry, Gina, love the name. All right. I feel like having a cigarette now. I kind of want to go into that, but let's do this. So why don't we do let's go into our diamonds and deals and talk about real estate, the properties that we have picked out. We've got a few minutes to go over here. Let's see, Heidi, what's this? What do we got here, Heidi? 1 bedroom, 1 bath.
Yeah, so this is a 1 bedroom, 1 bath. It's a remodeled condo at Maui Terraces, which is located in Honokwai. It's right across the street from the ocean. You can walk to various beaches and shopping and coffee shops, which I love. And it's listed at $470. It's fee simple, full ownership. The HOA fees are $488 a month and include everything, including internet and cable, except for electricity. Electric would be your only separate expense. And you have some views of Molokai there you can see on the top.
Nice, man. If a 1 bedroom is right for you, that's a winner. I love the low HOA fees, $488, and you get the pool. And it pays for, you said, everything except electricity. Seems like a deal to me. I'd say that's a deal and a diamond. I guess they're all diamonds and deals, right? As Dylan had brought up, everything that we do is a diamond and a deal. Because if it wasn't a deal, it wouldn't be a diamond. If it was a diamond, it wouldn't be. I'm not too sure. Anyway, they're all diamonds.
I don't know if Scott's is a diamond, but it's probably a deal.
Yeah. And that's what makes it a diamond. No, anyway, okay, now go ahead. Scott, what do we got here? Waialae Nui Fixer Upper. What is it?
Yeah, definitely fixer. 925, but Yeah, and you can see, I mean, the upper left is like the original kitchen from, even has wallpaper in the kitchen. And I do love that full stainless run on the countertop that you don't see. It's from like 1950s, 60s, right in that era. And then the unfinished portion down, that's the second picture on the left, and then wood paneling. Who doesn't love wood paneling? So this is obviously a fixer-upper. But the potential possibly over that carport area or garage area for separate kind of maids quarters, whether you could turn this into a legal ADU or not, you'd have to run your plan checks. But for $925, it's actually a pretty good price for that area. I figure me budget wise, I'm actually going to look at this. So for me and my investors, we just repositioned all our capital and we're back in the market. So I saw this, I'm going to look at it Sunday. I thought it was potentially a good opportunity at this price point, put 150 grand into it, doing a lot of stuff. And, you know, you're basically one somewhere right in there fixed up. That's a very good value for these neighborhoods.
Well, I was gonna say Waialainui is a nice area, right? It's
Yep.
a pretty high end area, so there's some nice upside with it. You know that, yeah, I got to tell you, Scott, that wood paneling brings back those Brady. This is like a Brady Bunch house, man. This just brings me back to the Brady Bunch. I don't know why, gang. I'm just thinking about the Brady Bunch.
Yep.
I'm looking for that special tiki to wear around someone's neck. Hey, excellent. Thanks, Scott. Excellent one. Dylan, what do we got here? Well, 3-bedroom, 2.5 bath. What?
A little bit of a view, right?
No, so, just a little bit.
Yeah, like literally like a 270-degree view. I mean, just your classic Hawaii home. It's on a 1 acre, just beautiful finishings all the way around. You can see in the top, top left there, kind of just sitting out by itself, lots of privacy, and just a crazy sweeping view. And this, it's at about 1,000 feet elevation, so it's going to be cool year round. You don't need any AC. Just a really, really nice property. And for 2.1, you can't get something like this on the other islands. So especially with an acre of land.
Man, that's crazy.
Yeah.
That is crazy.
The property description on this had a great thing. It's something about this is in the 10s. It's 10 minutes from the airport, 10 minutes from Costco, and 10 degrees cooler from the shoreline. So I thought that was a really good marketing piece. So shout out to
Yeah, you're not kidding. Well, I'm saying, and one more 10, it's a 10 of a property, right?
And a 10 of a property, yes.
Yeah. Jeez. And you had mentioned this earlier, if I'm not mistaken, from my memory. Hualalai Vistas is a highly desirable area on the Big Island, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, we have a lot of these, gated kind of higher end communities that are on 1 acre ag lots, and so this is one of the many that we have kind of in the upper highway above the airport in Kona. So yeah, super nice neighborhood. I mean, all the homes in the neighborhood are going to look like this, and just ideal place to live, from an elevation standpoint and proximity to everything in town.
Unbelievable. Great. Awesome. Hey, gang, hope you all like these. These were all great properties, alone, great variety all over the place. All right, let's hit into our closing thoughts as we bring the show to a close. I'd like to get your feedback as we all say goodbye. What did you think of having the special guest? Is this something that we should kind of do more of in the show? Did it kind of break it up for you a little bit? Was it interesting? Is it worthwhile? I'd love to get your feedback on it. What did you think of Kelii as well? The topic. I'd love to get some feedback on it. Just kind of throw some comments, and I'll read those after the show if I don't have time. All right, Dylan, what do we got? What's the quote and why do you like it?
Yeah, it's funny that I didn't really plan it this way, but it kind of applies to the show today, right? Where focus goes, energy flows, and there really isn't a lot of focus on actually solving our housing problems in Hawaii. We like to focus our energy on scapegoats and stuff that doesn't really exist, and so that's why I think we're where we are. But just something that's true in life, right? Wherever you focus is where your energy is going to go. So choose your focus wisely.
I'm curious, where did you get this from? Because I've got an interesting kind of statement I want to make on it. It's a good one. I love it. Where'd you get it from?
I don't know, because I'm a habitual ripper offer of good quotes online. I have a Google Doc that has tons of these, so I collect these. I love this stuff, and so I use them all the time. And when I give classes and stuff, and I always tell people sorry if I'm not attributing this, but I do a really bad job of keeping track where I get this stuff from. So
the reason why I ask is that this is one of sort of a fundamental value of a shamanic tradition, a Polynesian shamanic tradition. It says it in a little bit of a different way. It says energy flows where attention goes. So it's almost like the reverse. It's just about the reverse thing, but it's certainly a truism. Excellent. Thanks, Dylan. I appreciate that. Let's see this. I got my Proverbs, Scott, or Scott and Heidi, I don't have your slide showing, but why don't you kind of share with me what your thoughts are anyway? Scott, why don't you go ahead next?
Yeah, I'm not. I think it's hidden, so it's there. I can't remember what it was. So.
So all right, so hold on, gang. Technical difficulty. We're gonna unhide it right now. Just give me a sec here. Right before your eyes. Yeah. Here we go. Okay. There you go, Scott. What's your quote, and why do you like it?
Yeah, don't limit your challenges. Challenge your limits. I mean, me coming back out of the woods. That's not me. That's not my style. It's the second time ever backpacking, camping and stuff. But that's kind of how I live my life. It's like, hey, what can I go after next? How can I push myself? What more can I learn? How can I just grow as a person? And that kind of quote just lends towards that. I'm always looking at challenging my limits, and put something in front of me, whether it's you on the real estate side wanting to, hey, here's what we're looking to do. Great. Let's figure out if we can do it, right? And moving to Hawaii in and of itself is a difficult decision and a big challenge, so don't limit yourself. Go for it, right?
I love the twist of the words. Don't limit your challenges, challenge your limits. Those are fun, and it makes it kind of fun and memorable. And I'm certain Dylan's going to copy this one and pop this in his notebook if he hasn't done so already. Excellent. Dylan, look in your notebook. Just take the book of Proverbs. Just take the whole damn book, and you'll love it. Anyway, okay, that's my Bible thumping. Hey, Heidi, what's yours, and what does it mean to you?
Joy is an inner contentment despite all circumstances. So I love this quote because this is a reminder just to myself of how I want to live. And if something happens and you have a bad day, it doesn't mean you need to be angry and upset. You can choose to live in a way that's joyful and fulfilling, and it just makes things better and helps you deal with the ups and downs that are inevitable. And I like to be joyful. So
well said. I think what sticks out to me on this one is the word despite. Right. So it's easy to be joyful. It's easy to be joyful if everything's perfect. That's easy. That's almost cheating, right? That's almost cheating. The thing is to be joyful despite all circumstances. And well said, Heidi. Thanks for a great quote. Hey, gang, the comments are fantastic. I'm getting all the positive comments on it. And it's a bit. And Auntie Joyce got love the special guest, but miss extra time with my friends. Yeah, that is a price. I'm not going to go over all the comments because the show is almost over, but I am going to read through every one of them, and I really, really appreciate that. And this does have an effect on what we do in the future. I'm going to close with my, as you all know, I'm going to give you my Proverbs. This one was interesting because it was almost a counter one to the success sort of doctrines that we get sort of all over the place. Proverbs 23:4 says, "Do not wear yourself out to get rich. Be wise enough to desist." And I think it's to say, don't wear yourself out, right? It's all part of the journey. If you're going to get there, you're going to get there in a sort of a positive way. If you have to wear yourself out, literally, you're doing something wrong. It shouldn't be that way. It should come in a different way. And I thought that was a little interesting, sort of a counter cultural sort of a way. All right, gang. Great show, everybody. And Jamila agrees. I agree too. And Joan loved it. Yeah. Make today so awesome. Yesterday gets jealous. Oh, that's it. I love that. That's excellent. And Ray says, let joy be your compass. Aloha, y'all. Aloha to you, to Uncle Ray. All right, gang. Say goodbye, everybody. We're going to go clockwise. Scott, then Dylan, then Heidi. Say goodbye.
Goodbye, everybody. Good to be back.
Hello, everybody. Have a great weekend. Happy State of Day.
Aloha. Have a great weekend.
Have a great weekend. Happy Statehood Day, Scott. Well, welcome back, Scott. Y'all take care. Aloha, everyone. Bye-bye.